The first thing I felt when I woke up was the wind. It was cold. I opened my eyes and I saw an ugly, gray-blue sky with no clouds. The ground beneath me was a cold, gritty sand. I found myself surrounded by the desolate, dusty beige of the desert. The wind-blown dust had an awfully bitter taste to it. I saw small, rocky hills and a few very old-looking, ruined buildings. I also saw my companions crouching behind the wreckage of the escape pods to stay out of the wind. A woman in her 50s with beautiful, wavy gray hair. An appallingly disfigured man approaching middle age. And a man in his 20s with a blonde beard and a criminally pretentious top knot. The disfigured man was speaking. "Doesn't matter what planet we're on, this clearly isn't Sharp's world, and we're marooned. We've got to make a shelter before we die of exposure." "But none of us know how to build things. What are we supposed to do?" The young man was almost whining. The woman spoke. "We just have to get off the ground and out of the wind. It doesn't have to be fancy." And so we got to work, and it was not fancy. The disfigured man, Ilmari, went to investigate some nearby ruins. He came back and reported that there was a lot of usable material, but that the ground was saturated with some kind of oily substance, the source of the bitterness we could all taste in the air. We should stick to higher ground and avoid those areas when possible. A lot of metal wreckage from the ship had followed our escape pods down, and the tools in our escape pod survival kits allowed us to cut it up and re-weld the metal, even with our inexperience. In the end, we managed to build a shack that would have been quite at home in an RimWorld shantytown. There was no floor, just 4 thin metal walls that rattled and occasionally made loud booming sounds as they flexed in a gust of wind, and a roof that looked like it could fly off at any time. We really struggled to get the door right, spending several hours and all of our combined brain power, and still wasting a lot of material. The beds that we made were an affront to the concept of comfort, but still preferable to sleeping in the oily sand. There was a cat with us that none of us recognized, and he made it difficult to work at times, always wanting to be right in front of us at a critical moment. I will say that his feline charms would have been far more welcome back in the comfort of home. Once we finally got the roof on, we busied ourselves hauling the supplies from the escape pods back into the shack, out of the wind and dust. The young man, Prem, found a resinous shrub growing nearby, and when he tried the lighter from his survival pack on it, he found that it burned slowly yet brightly. Doreen used the wood to craft a pair of torches that made the inside of our little shack look somehow even more barbaric than before. Yet, we were out of the wind, and we had some small source of warmth. It helped. Around 4 o'clock, we decided that it was good enough for the day, and it was time to relax, if we could. Prem climbed to the top of the tallest hill in the area, and called us to come and look. We scrambled up the rocky slope. Prem said that he could see a road far off to the west. He said that all roads lead somewhere. We should pack up our food and follow it. If we squinted, we could almost see the road. Ilmari said that from what he could see, the whole region was heavily polluted. He said that we were safe for the moment, but that travel through the region would expose us to dangerous levels of the toxin. We had no idea how far we would have to go before we found anything, if indeed there was anything to find. What if the road was just another ancient ruin, and there wasn't anywhere to go at all? All of us were near despair at the end of his explanation. Prem looked on the verge of tears. We went inside and gathered around a flat metal sheet that we decided to call a table. "Look at this," Ilmari said. He rifled through the pile of supplies and came back to the table with a very thick book. "This is a survival manual. Every escape pod has one. There are schematics in here for all kinds of machines, furniture, and buildings. This thing is a how-to manual on civilization. Look at the end chapters. We can build our own spaceship to get out of here. There are entire chapters with in-depth explainers of all the math, physics, and chemistry we need. There's nothing in this book we can't work our way up to with the tools we already have in the escape pods. And look, Ilmari flipped to a page towards the middle of the book. Long-range transport pods, aircraft. We can use these to explore the area more safely. He looked at Prem. If there are people at the end of that road, we can get to them without having to cross that wasteland on foot. Now, how does that sound? We all agreed that it sounded better. But how are we going to actually do this? Doreen asked. What are we going to eat when the MREs run out? We've got 44 MREs, Ilmari said. If we eat twice a day, that will last us a little over 7 days. We'll have to kick the cat out, or it'll cut into our supply too much. Unless one of you wants to share with him. I've seen lizards today, Prem said. If we keep him out of the food, he can hunt for himself. Good, Ilmari said. We'll build a pair of work desks and take it in shifts to study the survival manual. Whoever isn't studying can forage for useful materials from the wreckage in the ruins. Do we agree? I can't make sense of technical writing, Doreen said. I'd rather smash rocks all day. Do that then, Ilmari said. You can gather materials and work on the house while Prem and I study. Fine, Doreen sulked. Prem, you and I will go on opposite schedules. You study while I sleep. We'll catch each other up after our study shifts. Okay, said Prem. And so we got to work.